Hi Royal We family, and to those of you who are brand new to the channel, welcome. My name is Kevin. If you found this channel, it's because you're dealing with toxic relationships and narcissists, either in your family or with your friends or with your coworkers. In this video, I want to see if we can gain a different perspective of narcissism and just how dangerous it is and why we need to go no contact by comparing narcissism to the so-called Antichrist. Now then, what if the so-called Antichrist is not some slick, charming, charismatic dude that rises up in power from manipulating everybody and then destroys everybody's lives? And just what if this so-called Antichrist is not some beast or dragon or Godzilla or one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater that comes up out of the ocean breathing fire all over everybody? Maybe, just maybe, this so-called Antichrist is something that we are at war with already. And maybe, just maybe, this something is called narcissism. Now, some of you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, and that's okay, I'm going to help you out. The so-called Antichrist is a Christian idea. It's a concept based off of different passages that offer very little in the descriptive category, but we'll get there in just a minute. But it's a popular idea. It even made its way into mainstream. You might remember the movie The Devil's Advocate. In that movie, one of the points was to get Keanu Reeves to sleep with his sister so that they could give birth to the so-called Antichrist. Pretty sick, right? Well, in the end, it didn't work out. The devil gets mad and blows up, and that's basically the movie. I gotta say that in the movie, Al Pacino did a good job playing the devil, and Keanu Reeves did a good job playing Keanu Reeves. Now, the biggest problem that we have concerning the so-called Antichrist is that it lacks any real clarification, which means it's completely open to interpretation, and therefore we have lots of different stories about who or what the Antichrist is. A lot of people will even go as far as to point their finger at different world leaders, presidents, celebrities. It gets pretty wild. It's all over the place. But what I'm presenting to you in this video is what if we are already dealing with the Antichrist on a daily basis, not in a monster or in another person, but within a mindset, a mentality, if you will. Now I want to share with you the common things that we see associated with the so-called Antichrist within the Bible passages. Now what I'm going to leave out is all the beasts and monsters and dragons type stuff. There's plenty of channels that get into the mysterious side of the Bible, and if you want to go down that rabbit hole, please do. It's actually entertaining and you can gain some insight from those channels. But for the purpose of the Royal We, I want to keep it simple and down to earth, and I want to talk about it in a way that's going to make sense to you. So to begin with, 1 John chapter 4 tells us that the Antichrist is a spirit. 1 John 2:18 follows this up by saying many Antichrists have already been here. This makes complete sense if we're talking about a mindset, a mentality, and which is caused or brought on by the so-called spirit that John is talking about, right? We've seen this throughout history. Look at the Hitlers of the world, for example. Obviously, it's a mindset that was taken over and became evil and wicked and started to become reckless. This is that Antichrist spirit. And when we say Antichrist, we have to understand also what it means to be Antichrist, what it means to be opposed to what Christ stood for. What did Jesus stand for? Jesus stood for freedom. Jesus stood for truth. So the Antichrist is going to be against people's freedom and against people's truth. This is important to understand. Keep this locked away because you're going to see how a mindset and a mentality can carry and can embody the Antichrist spirit. Now, finally, I want to share with you an image that we have of this so-called beast that's given to us in Revelations chapter 13, verse 2. And the image is this. Daniel saw an image of what looked like a leopard, but it had the feet of a bear and it had the mouth of a lion. Now, let's get real. If you or I or anybody in the world saw a literal beast that was a leopard with the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion, I guarantee you that hunting season would be open. And every pro would be out there aiming for that thing, and it would wind up on someone's mantle above the fireplace as the trophy catch. You know what I'm saying? That's right. I'm here in the Midwest, man. I know how this stuff goes down. But I want to share with you this perspective. You know what else can be like a leopard? How about a quick-moving crowd? Do you know what else can have the feet of a bear? How about an unstoppable crowd of angry individuals with a mindset stomping over everything in their path? You know what else can have the mouth of a lion? How about the angry outcries of protesters and people with a united mindset and a mentality? And this mentality or this mindset can be based off of narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder. And this narcissism, this NPD, can create a movement. And within the movements can be created mobs. This is what's called collective narcissism, or as the great Eckhart Tolle says, collective insanity. Follow me on this. Jesus walked and he taught and he healed, and he always challenged people saying, do you believe that you can be healed? And the person would say, yes, I believe, Rabbi, I can be healed. And Jesus said, let it be done as you believe. And boom, they were healed. The Pharisees and the Sadducees would see this and they'd say, wait a minute, who is this guy who has authority to grant them healing or to show them that they can have the power to have healing through a direct relationship with God? This threw them off because prior to that, people had to go through the Pharisees and the Sadducees. They were the top dogs. And they had to go through them. People had to go through the Pharisees. If you wanted to know God, you had to go talk to the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And so now with Jesus showing up saying, no, you don't have to do that anymore. You're free to have your own relationship. This incited rage and jealousy and envy inside the Pharisees, inside the Sadducees. So they lied, they deceived, they came up with mocking him, they harassed him, they made up stories about him and created a mob mentality to protest against him so that he could be arrested and ultimately killed. Because of narcissism turning into a movement, turning into a mob. Do you see how that works? The Antichrist is a spirit that developed that and went through that at the time of Jesus, and it can happen again. And we'll see the movement, and we'll see the mob, and we'll see lots of people being hurt. Again, possibly not by one individual called the Antichrist, not some dragon called the Antichrist, but a mindset, a mentality that's going to stomp out everything that disagrees with it. Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 13 gives us this insight about narcissism and about the mentality that can take over. And it says that these people are asleep. And this is important for you to understand because you are not asleep. You're awake now. That's why you're watching this channel and you've watched this far, because you're awake. And so now it becomes super important for you to understand why you need to stay away from narcissism and from narcissistically abusive people. It does not matter if it's your parents or your ex-boyfriend or your spouse. Stay away from them. Have nothing to do with these people. And the reason is because you can easily get drawn into that mindset, right? And you don't want to have anything to do with this. You don't. And now you might be saying, well, wait a minute, Kevin. How do I know when I come across people if they're narcissistic or not? How can I be careful to make sure I'm not sucked into this mindset, this mentality? And I'm glad you asked this because I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I want you to read 2 Timothy chapter 3 because 2 Timothy chapter 3 breaks down exactly what to look for in people in order to stay away from them. It gives you a complete list, and those things that you identify, if you see these things in the people you're coming across, stay away from them. Have nothing to do with them. It doesn't say to argue with them. It doesn't even say to pray with them. It says have nothing to do with such people. Nothing. And that's a warning. And I believe that it's a warning for you and for me. So once again, we do not get caught up and sucked in to this mentality or the mindset. Listen, I do offer one-on-one appointments via FaceTime if you are an Apple user. I also do regular phone time sessions as well. So you're welcome to check that out at www.jointheroyalwe.com. You'll also find other resources on that website, and I'll be back with more videos right here on The Royal We.